Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Huge thanks to Kylie and Sasha. They're going to be running this and put a lot of thought into how best to chat with you all about some of these opportunities. So excited to hand it over to them. Just wanted to root us to start. So I'm Hilary Doe. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at NationBuilder. And we first announced this new partnership with ActionButton, kind of bringing ActionButton into the NationBuilder family in sort of earlier this year, pre-summer. And we have been so busy ever since in so many good ways, both continuing obviously to lean in and grow the NationBuilder product, but also to better connect NationBuilder to ActionButtons. We have a lot of new ways for NationBuilder customers to take advantage of all the incredible features in ActionButton. What you're going to dig into today is the managed campaigns opportunities. So I'll let Kylie and Sasha talk about that. But the other big way, obviously, that you can use ActionButton functionality and specifically the legislative advocacy functionality is in the add-on that is coming for all NationBuilder customers. And we have an exciting announcement about that. So if you're interested in legislative advocacy specifically and being able to use all those ActionButton features, more to come at the end of this webinar. But I know what we're focusing on today is the managed campaigns portion. So I will kick it back to y'all, Kylie and Sasha. Thank you again so much for organizing this and excited to hear.
Awesome. I can jump in and introduce myself quickly. My name is Kylie Malloy. I am on our account management team here at NationBuilder. So work very closely with some of you folks on the call and probably some of those watching the recording as well. Dialing in from Seattle today, really looking forward to just kind of walking through at a high level how you can really get the most out of both of these products. And talking specifically through some of the opportunities with our campaign offering through ActionButton. But I will pass things to Sasha to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Sasha Anand-Kennedy with the ActionButton team, head of business development, and super excited to be here today to take you all through our campaign offering and give you a quick overview of some case studies as well to get you more familiar with our product and welcome any questions as we go. Feel free to drop them in the chat and we can spend some time covering them off later on.
Awesome. And with that, let's jump in. All right, so I want to take a moment just to visit our agenda for today. So as we've kind of mentioned, this is mainly going to be focusing on ActionButton's campaign offering. I do just kind of want to start out with framing us at a high level how you can use NationBuilder and ActionButton in tandem. We'll spend some time talking through kind of the nuts and bolts of ActionButton campaign and get into some of the technical details and process there. I also do want to talk about how you can interact with ActionButton campaign data in NationBuilder. So focusing on kind of some of the current functionality that's available and talking through a little bit some of the potential opportunities for the future there. I'll ground us in some strategic use cases that I envision being most helpful for some of our existing customers to think about when they're considering whether or not running an ActionButton campaign is a good fit for current projects they're working on. We will have designated time at the end for questions where we'll open it up to the group. We're a pretty small crew here, so hopeful that we can get to any and all questions that folks might have. But as Sasha said, feel free to drop those in the chat as we're going along. And then in closing, we'll have some next steps to share out with folks. All right, so again, let's talk a little bit about ActionButton and NationBuilder. I think both of these tools really provide exciting opportunities to engage your supporters and obviously mobilize those folks to action. So as Hilary mentioned at the top, in June of 2021, we had the opportunity to announce that ActionButton officially became part of the NationBuilder family. That's something that was super exciting for us. Just because of the really strong mission alignment between our two companies. We're also really excited about some of the additional tools that ActionButton can offer to existing NationBuilder customers. So that's really going to be kind of our focus for today, but just wanted to share some context there on history of these two tools kind of coming together. So what is ActionButton? ActionButton is really designed to connect new supporters with your organization's purpose in moments where they are inspired to take action. So this is, again, going to be the focus of today's webinar, talking about the campaign offering. So you're able to work with the ActionButton team to custom design these buttons that are encouraged and well designed to engage folks. You're able to contextually place those across ActionButton's network of publishers. And so people are really able to interact with these buttons where they're learning about an issue that matters to you, where they're being engaged on a topic. You're gathering insights about how they feel about a specific topic at really that point of inspiration where they're bumping it up against an article or content that's talking about the issue that matters to your organization. So that's something that we're really excited about and excited to get into today. But just kind of at a high level, talking about ActionButton and NationBuilder together, I think when combined, both of these tools are really well designed to help you best reach your audience before further mobilizing them to action. So on kind of the left-hand side here, thinking about some of the ways ActionButton comes into that, this is really a tool that's designed to help expand the reach of your organization and brand, help you interact with new supporters that you might not have previously kind of bumped up against, helping you to gather insights about how people feel or what people know about an issue, helping to do that education piece and raising awareness, as well as helping you to kind of grow that audience and interact with new folks. When it comes to the NationBuilder piece, I think that's where it's really strong about being able to build those relationships at scale. I think that's what our tool is really well equipped to help you do, really nurturing that community that you've built, and then of course, mobilizing them to action. And I think, of course, ActionButton comes into play there as well, which we'll talk about a little bit towards the end and getting into some of the nuts and bolts of add-ons and how those can be leveraged to move your existing supporters to action. But today we're going to be talking more about that top of funnel engagement and leveraging some of the sponsored campaigns within ActionButton to do that. Right. So I want to talk a little bit about ActionButton campaigns. And so I'm going to pass things over to Sasha.
Thanks, Kylie. And hey, everybody. We'll just jump through a quick overview of how we typically work with our customers on ActionButton campaigns. And just to refresh anyone who hasn't kind of seen the different capabilities of what ActionButton can do, here is just a quick overview of the different types of actions we can invite people to take. So just like the example that Kylie showed you, ultimately we work with you to customize an action that either asks questions through polls and quizzes to gather insights and raise awareness about your current initiatives, and also invites people to do things like donate, volunteer, email Congress, even register to vote, all through the ActionButton interface. So ultimately we would work with you to create an action journey that sort of creates a combination of these different action types that helps deliver on the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And just to kind of talk through quickly what that process looks like, the first step is working with you to create those engaging action buttons that help deliver on your messages. The example you're seeing here is from a campaign that we actually worked on with Budweiser, and their ultimate goal was to increase awareness about the lack of diversity in the brewing industry. And so together we created this action button that, through a engaging question, really raises awareness that only 0.6% of brewers in America are Black, and then invites people to take action by learning more about the programs that they're developing to help create change, and also even invites people to apply for a scholarship that they had out in the world. So this is just a small example of how we can weave together the different action types to deliver on a message and invite people to take action with your organization's initiatives. And then the next step in the process, and as Kylie mentioned, is really, showing up in the moments that people are inspired or learning about this specific issue. And that authentic engagement is really kind of the key to how the ActionButton product works, and showing up in the moments where we know people will be inclined to learn more, and invite them in those moments that they're already reading about that specific topic. So the key with how ActionButton campaigns work is our team actually manages the process, and we place your action buttons within relevant content that's being published every single day. So the idea is to sort of own those moments and those topics, and show up where people are looking to learn more and potentially get involved with your cause. And the key with that is we partner with publishers like Forbes, like the New York Times, like CNN, kind of the places that you'd go every day to get your news of what's happening in the world. And in those moments, the action button would be embedded within the article for you to engage. And whether that's clicking off to learn more on the site or watching a video within the action button, ultimately we would work with you to create that journey that invites that authentic engagement in the moment. And another great component is that, we really focus on the relevant moments. We're showing up when people are thinking about these topics. And, you'll see with the Budweiser example that it was running in content around food and wine in that industry specifically. So we were focused on that specific topic. And of course, the measurement is key. And through ActionButton, we're able to really gather all of that first party data in terms of how people are answering questions, in terms of their sentiment levels, and also able to optimize in real time. So if we're running different creatives, for example, we're able to optimize to what's performing the best and consistently kind of stay on top of driving, industry leading engagement rates and brand lift results through our campaigns. I was going to talk about a couple of quick examples so you can see how we've worked with other customers on ActionButton campaigns, and so you can kind of get a sense of the different creatives that we can build. We have a couple of quick examples here. This one is for General Motors and a campaign that we ran on their behalf for the last few months. And it really was grounded around helping people think about electric vehicles and what it would take for them to consider actually purchasing one. And one key thing was that they wanted to gather insights on what's more important to people, whether it's affordability or range, as you can see in this example here. And then through that, people were then able to engage with their video content that they created around their electrification movement, as they called it. And then in terms of some of the stats that kind of come from the ActionButton campaigns and what we accomplished through that, we were able to reach over 16 million readers in the moments they were consuming content around electric vehicles, maybe thinking about it for themselves, for example. And one other great component of this is that we also did a third-party brand lift study, which was really to see how people perceived the brand after engaging with an ActionButton. And we were really proud of the results from this campaign. The industry average for brand lift is typically 1.9%. And through this campaign, we accomplished a 23% increase in brand lift, which just shows that, again, that placement in the right context is really key to deliver your message in the right moments. And we also had over 200,000 people engage with the ActionButtons while they were reading content. One more example here on the National Honey Board. I think Kylie, that might be a build. So if you click again, maybe we'll get the stats on the right-hand side. Perfect. So this is a campaign we did for the National Honey Board, a little bit different as it was more nonprofit focused and really around a specific period in the month, which was September, which is National Honey Month for anyone who didn't know. And the whole idea of this campaign was to draw in socially conscious consumers to learn more about their work in the world. So through this, we, as you'll see with the kind of action journey, we start with a poll or quiz to bring people into the topic to learn more, and then invite them to visit the site or watch a video so they can get more engaged with the content of the company or the initiative that they're running. And so through this, we were able to reach almost 2 million people in less than a month. We saw over 50,000 engagements with the National Honey Board and people visiting their site. And through the campaign, we saw a 3% engagement rate. So basically, what that means is of almost the 2 million people who saw the ActionButton, we had 3% of those people visit their site and watch the video after seeing the ActionButton. And one other great thing about this is you're gathering the insights as well. So you're able to see the awareness levels of what people know about the specific topic. And that can also help, inform future strategy as well. And then the last one here I wanted to touch on quickly is the Doctors Without Borders, which is a customer that we've done a few campaigns for to date. The one we wanted to highlight here was around the COVID-19 pandemic and their global response around the world. And one thing that we wanted to highlight is how many countries Doctors Without Borders shows up in, which in this case was over 70 countries is where their response was during kind of the height of the COVID pandemic. So you'll see again, using that question to pull people into the topic to see the importance of their work in the world. And then through this, we actually invited people to donate to their cause to help, increase their impact in the work that they're doing. And one other great component of all of Action Button campaigns is that we can incorporate Facebook pixels and retargeting pixels. So if people visit your site after seeing an action button and decide to donate at that moment, we then can know that it was from the action button they might have seen 2 weeks ago on the New York Times. And so we have the ability to really track users as well and see how their action converts in the future. In terms of just the quick stats on this campaign, we reached over 4 million readers. We saw over almost 100,000 action engagements. And just talking a little bit about that view through. So basically what we had set up on the back end was tracking anyone who visited Doctors Without Borders website after seeing the action button. And through that, we saw over $15,000 in view through donations 30 days after the campaign, which was a great number to see, and helping, again, kind of increase their impact and work in the world.
All right. So let's dive into some more detail around how you could go about interacting with some of this action button campaign data in NationBuilder. Once you've run a campaign, what's kind of the next step to continue building relationships with these folks? So I think you've kind of gotten a feel for this in some of the examples that Sasha's just walked us through, but I did want to kind of review a listing of some of the different button types. So this is kind of a full listing of all the different button types that you might consider leveraging as part of an action button campaign. Again, some of these are going to be made available as well to folks via the add-on. Those that have an asterisk next to them currently collect users' contact information. So I want to call those out specifically because those would be buttons where we're able to then provide that data back to you to leverage within NationBuilder. So just talking through kind of some of the possibilities to consider here, I think the biggest thing I really want to hone in on, which Sasha has mentioned, is leveraging tracking pixels, because I think that's really a huge opportunity to track the interactions that you have with folks that maybe engage with a sentiment poll on a campaign that you're running, and think about how you can kind of follow those folks back to your website when they're interacting with pages, maybe via NationBuilder. So I think that's a huge opportunity in thinking about how can you kind of further build your relationships with those supporters that might have first run into your organization or first learned about an issue via an action button campaign, and how can we kind of think about building relationships with those folks via web pages on NationBuilder. I think the other obvious opportunity here is using tags to segment communications based on the campaign or campaigns that a person is engaged with. So for example, if Sasha's engaged with a sentiment poll about honeybees, how can I use that information to segment content or further asks that are going to Sasha that I'm sending out via email blasts or automations or text blasts through NationBuilder. And then I think the other piece here is just thinking about how you kind of continually build that relationship with those supporters that you do have information for. So thinking about some of the existing functionality within NationBuilder that'll support you in doing that. So I think paths is a great example. That's something I've just kind of mocked up here for us to take a look at. So again, if we're thinking about tracking how those people that have interacted with an action button campaign might be converted into donors, this is an example of how you might do that. I think automations are another really great thing to be thinking about here in terms of ways to kind of reduce some of that manual work that might go into building that relationship with a supporter. But I think this is, again, really grounding us in some of the current functionality. I think there will be a lot of updates for us to share on this front, but really just kind of wanted to get into some of the technical details about how you might interact with some of this data that's collected via an action button campaign in NationBuilder. And I think the other exciting thing that we've also kind of gotten a feel for in the content that Sasha's walked us through in those real life examples is thinking about some of the campaign types that you might consider running via an action button campaign. So I think things that are exciting to me to think about here in terms of customers that we have in the room, so to speak. I really think action button campaigns are again, well suited towards that top of funnel engagement. Thinking about some things that might specifically apply to folks in this group. I think they're really well suited to educate people about issues that matter to your organization. So thinking about if you're an organization that cares potentially about civic engagement, environmental issues, maybe that is access to good jobs, affordable housing, whatever it is that the issue is that you're organizing folks around. I think action button campaigns are a great opportunity to do some of that education work and helping folks learn more about how an issue is potentially impacting their community, the nation at large, their particular state. Really helpful in providing that education and awareness piece. I think the other thing that's helpful to consider with that campaign type is thinking about how it might tie into major events that your organization has coming up. So that example with the National Honey Board that Sasha called out, tying that into September and a timely campaign time for them. So I think that's something that I would recommend to folks on the call that might be thinking about this. For example, if you're maybe an organization that cares about improving women's rights, advancing women's rights, maybe that's something where you consider running an Action Button campaign in March during Women's History Month. I think Action Button campaigns also offer a really great opportunity for you to gauge awareness about sentiment and knowledge on a particular topic. I think this is particularly important because through Action Button campaigns, you're able to interact with folks that are not already inside your existing supporter network. So I think there are a lot of ways that you can be doing that polling for existing supporters just within NationBuilder currently to get a sense of how they feel about a given issue. You can send out surveys, you can do email blasts, you can have folks sign pledge and petition pages in NationBuilder. But I think where Action Button campaigns come in is really gauging that awareness on folks that are not maybe already supporters of your given organization or mission. So I think it really helps you to collect insights that can be really powerful in informing your strategies for messaging about that topic moving forward. So for example, if you know somebody really cares about the impacts of climate change as it relates to how that's going to impact the local economy in their area, that might help you in providing more convincing messaging, informing ad strategies potentially in the future for some of those persuasion conversations that you might be in with folks that are not yet supporters of your organization or mission. I think another piece to consider here is running Action Button campaigns to promote some of the work that your organization is doing. And I think this can be in service of winning over new donors, new members, new volunteers. So I think this can be a great way to shout out some of the work that your organization is doing on a given topic. And then again, using that kind of retargeting component to understand how those people interact with an action button, how many of them are then coming back into your site and becoming donors, becoming members, volunteers, all of those different pieces. And then the last option I wanted to shout out here, which I don't think we got into in the content for today, but GM actually partnered with the Environmental Defense Fund to kind of showcase some of the work that they were doing around vehicle electrification and climate change. So I think this could also be a really great opportunity to shout out some of the contributions of your corporate partners. So is there a partner that you work with that might benefit from some of the brand lift results that we see in some of these Action Button campaigns that would also be able to tie in an important campaign that your organization is working on? I think that's a really great opportunity for us to consider and think about here. Right. So it's been a lot of Action Button and NationBuilder folks talking. So I do want to open it up to some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and take a peek at the chat, but since we are, again, kind of an intimate group here, feel free to unmute and just share out any questions that are top of mind.
I got a question. Is this, it's not limited to just the NationBuilder platform, right? Because we use the NationBuilder platform as far as the website and such. You know, we use it for the donation form and some petitions, but our main site is actually a craft CMS site. We could put, and we have a ton of articles, so for content, and so some of the things you were showing, it would be great to have kind of those kind of action buttons for reactions or more education on them. So that's my question.
Yeah, Craig, so it sounds like you'd be interested in embedding action buttons within content on your own site. I think that's something where definitely the add-on is going to be helpful to you all. And I think what that's really better suited towards is like the exact kind of work you're describing, where you're engaging folks that are already supporters, they're already on your website, reading news articles and content from you all. But absolutely, I think that that's certainly something you can do. I think with the add-ons, you'll be able to embed those in content that's not just a NationBuilder website.
For sure. Anywhere you can grab the embed code. The other shout out there that can be really helpful is if you want to go ahead and post some of those on social or what have you. It's a good way to give people a link to take them back to your content that's really engaging. So that's a really, really, successful way of doing what you're describing. And you wouldn't have to kind of go the sponsored campaigns route where you run things in other publications if you're just using them to kind of engage in your existing site.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. We're mostly concerned about Connecticut. Can you do geo-targeting through this so that it goes in campaigns for just one state?
Yeah, David, I can take that one. So we definitely can and have done some geo-targeted campaigns. I guess the thing to think about there is just the size of the audience. And so I guess the smaller market, the less people we can reach effectively. So we typically recommend doing national campaigns if possible. But if you do have interest in doing a Connecticut only campaign, for example, we can kind of run the numbers with our team and see what's possible.
Yeah, it's not a limitation on the geo-targeting, it's just a limitation on the scale, basically. So the geo-targeting is there. Yeah. Yeah, and you can always pair things as well, just to build on what you said, Sasha. Like we could run sort of a sponsored campaign that's focused, quite locally, and then pair that with using action buttons outside of the publisher network, on other pieces of content that are local to Connecticut that you might have access to, working with local folks that who are publishing things, and you can use the embed code to place the action button there, or on your own sites, on social, that kind of engagement as well, to kind of create a package that's paired.
Yeah, we've done media buys for social media and some websites that we know people hit. So if we did a media buy, we'd be able to take this action button probably and put it out as on that website. And okay, good.
Yeah, that's a cool use case. Some folks we are aware of as well. And keep me honest here, Sasha, but some of the sort of cool uses I've seen are folks that do like sponsored content placements. So they'll work with, XYZ publication, get a piece of sponsored content, and then provide the embed code as well so that they can embed an action button there.
Yep, for sure.
I want to be conscious of my airtime, but I also just wanted to shout you out, Kylie, on the sort of corporate idea, basic from the nonprofit perspective, like working with a company. My life pre-NationBuilder was as an executive director, and I was, fundraising all the time, as executive directors have to do. And I think it can be a really tricky thing for folks who are trying to think about what the pitch is, like what's the ask of a corporate sponsor, what can you all do together or suggest that you do together. And I think this is actually a really great thing to suggest, a way to kind of open the door. So I think that was a really smart, strategic shout out, being able to go to a brand that you might have gone to before to ask for a small gift or what have you, and instead say, let's do something that's good for you and that you'll get brand lift out of, and if you sponsor this, and also promote the fact that you just gave a donation to my organization or what have you. I think it's a really smart way in. So we have a bunch of content obviously on fundraising and fundraising tips. I think that's more than worthy of getting added, Kylie, on the next go around.
Tying in an action to something like going over to, we use phone to action. I'm assuming that wouldn't be a difficult, that you can, they might respond to a question or something like that, and based upon that action and how they responded, be, great. We, here's a next step kind of thing, click here and send them over to the phone to action page. That a good use case for the product?
No one wants to take this one. Kylie, yes, you could totally use that way, but Kylie, go ahead, you unmuted.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's definitely something we could set up. But that said, I think actually what might be a better experience from like a user conversion standpoint there might be thinking about like using action buttons advocacy functionality. So if you wanted to do, for example, like a sequenced series of buttons where the first one is a poll asking someone how they feel about a given issue, and then maybe the second button they see is that direct advocacy ask. I would probably advocate for just using ActionButton's own legislative advocacy functionality there, just because it keeps the entire experience just within the button. Like you don't have to worry about folks clicking out and potentially deciding, oh, never mind, I don't want to click on this call to action. So that would just be my thought there. But totally, I think we would be able to work with folks to create pretty custom experiences there. If for some reason you do want folks to land on an external page, or you want them to be taking that action directly from a web page of yours.
Okay, thanks.
I see a question from Kylie in the chat about how ActionButton can be used as single use, which it certainly can. So I think that single use is probably best for the add-on and being able to create your own custom action buttons in that way for your NationBuilder site. And then, for the campaigns, we typically recommend running for at least 6 weeks, and usually the longer the better, in terms of being able to gather a good amount of insights and get a good amount of volume out. And our typical cost for an ActionButton campaign runs on a viewable CPM, which is typically $20. And then in terms of the overall budget, you can work with your EAM to talk about your kind of plans for the year and what your budgets look like, and we can try to come back to you with a potential plan.
And you should just define CPM for folks in case it's new language.
Yeah, so CPM is just basically, as you'd seen in the examples, when the action button is placed in an article, it's based on people actually viewing the action button within the content. So it's cost per million or impressions is sort of the metric there.
Yeah, so like every 1,000 impressions, $20 or something like that, in case that's helpful to y'all.
And Sasha, this is Kylie, a follow-up. Could you share just a little bit more about what that single use would look like in a consumer email? I mean, would that just be like one button that goes out in one email or in a series of emails, and then how that works within the add-on?
Yeah, so ultimately through the add-on, you'll have access to basically all the different action types that we offer. And so in theory, you could create a customized button for that email or that blog post and then be able to embed it there. And it could live indefinitely, or you can take it down after a period of time as well.
Yeah, basically, this is helpful to me. So if it's helpful to folks, I'll share it here. If you're interested in making buttons and sharing them with your existing community or putting them on your existing properties, even putting them on social or using the embed code to place them on other properties where I have access to embed, you can use the add-on, which we're going to talk about at the very end here. And it can go, you can place those, like I said, in existing website content, wherever you might have it. You can place an email button that folks can click on and link out to, same with social. If you want to run those buttons that you create and that frankly, the Action Button team creates with you in the publisher network in order to get new supporters, sort of new eyeballs on your content, or to do polling almost, or kind of gauging sentiment, awareness, that kind of thing with a new audience in the publisher network, that's the sponsored campaigns. So that's kind of the distinction, if that's helpful. If you're not running in the publisher network, you can just use all this functionality in the add-on. If you want to run in the publisher's network, that's the sponsored campaigns. Is that helpful?
Super helpful. Yeah, that's actually really great. And I think, for our organization, we would certainly just be doing the single use route. And so then with the add-on, is that already included within our Nation, or would that be something that we bring in extra?
Yeah, that will be sort of additional. So I guess, would we have more to say, or should I spill the beans, Kylie? I'll look to you.
No, let's just jump into the exciting stuff. So let me
okay, cool.
Move into the next step.
We wanted to focus this part on sponsored campaigns or on managed campaigns, so I didn't want to jump the gun. But basically, we've been working really hard to get the add-on in product, where you'll ultimately be able to go to the add-on section of NationBuilder and add it on, like you might add on text messages or anything else. But for enterprise customers, actually, we are officially opening the beta. So if you want to use ActionButton, you can reach out to your EAM, let them know that you're interested, and we'll be able to basically work with you it'll be a little bit more manual. You'll probably offer feedback and say, this was easy, this wasn't easy, that kind of thing, so that we can make the product better and better. But you'll be able to get access to all the actions you just saw, and actually some you didn't see here as well. The enterprise add-on has legislative advocacy features that aren't available through BYOB and that we don't use in sponsored campaigns. So for example, calling and texting, calling and tweeting and emailing legislators at either the state or federal level is available. We can also do, in partnership with you, targeted email as well, if there's like one specific person that you want to reach out to or want folks to reach out to, and all of the other actions from donations, pledges, sentiment, any of that are also available. So if you're interested in the beta, you can ping your EAM. They'll be in touch with you. It'll be a little bit more manual than what will ultimately be available in the add-on section when that launches a little bit later in the year, but you'll get early access and you'll work directly with our team to, talk about what kinds of buttons you want to create and where you want to place them and really get coached through best practices and that sort of thing. So hopefully that's helpful, and feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Sasha, I might pass things over to you just to kind of close this out here and share next steps.
For sure. And yeah, I think, why ActionButton thinks applies to whether you're using the buttons on your NationBuilder website with your existing supporters, or if you decide to explore doing an ActionButton campaign and kind of share your message with new supporters within news content. I think the key is that, ActionButton invites authentic engagement and really is a great way to build trust and awareness with your existing or new supporters. And as we look to kind of work with you on campaigns, that we're really proud of sort of the results that we've been able to deliver through the campaigns that we do, through the engagement rates that we see with action buttons, and sort of the interactive user experience is really a key component of that. And then of course, through it all, you'll be able to get sort of instant data and insights on how people feel about specific issues, using the ability to take people's temperature and how they feel about certain topics, and really be able to measure and kind of inform your strategy all along the way. So kind of the combination of ActionButton and NationBuilder is really powerful to really move your community towards action. And that's really all we're both about. So that's kind of the exciting part about being now a part of the NationBuilder family. Just in terms of kind of the next steps, and as Hilary had mentioned, of course, we'll be sending everybody a recording of the webinar to everyone who's RSVP'd, and those who are watching the recording. Please feel free to connect with your EAM if you're interested in exploring either the sponsored campaign route or testing out the new beta version of the add-on. We'd love to hear from you, and of course, get your feedback along the way. And if you're not sure which one to use or what's right for you, I'm sure your EAM will also be able to point you in the right direction. So look forward to hearing from you all. If you have any questions, of course, please reach out, and we look forward to chatting further.
All right. Any final questions from folks at the buzzer here? All right. Well, thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Sasha. Thanks everyone for taking some time out of your afternoon to join us today. As we mentioned, and I think as folks have gotten a feel for throughout the presentation, lots more goodness to come on this front, both for sponsored campaigns and for the add-on, obviously. I'm so excited to continue sharing those updates with you all, but please feel free to reach out and be in touch with your EAM if you have any questions about anything we've discussed today. And I hope everyone has a really great rest of their afternoon.